If I mask and make sure that my face and skin looks perfect, nobody will know I'm upset. And how sad is that in one way? And then just taking the responsibility as well of when you are looking tired, stopping and resting as opposed to running to an appointment. And I had to own that for myself.
Welcome to the Energy Upgrade Podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Grutman. And if you are a high-achieving woman, a successful entrepreneur, an inspiring entrepreneur, or just a woman with kick-ass big dreams, you're in the right place. If you value your energy, your health, if you want to be a biohacker, tap into longevity, if you want to raise the impact you have in this lifetime, you're going to have a lot of fun around here. As a second-time seven-figure business creator, certified health practitioner, and soul biohacker, I'm here to reconnect you to your energy, to the soul of your business, and to your superpowers. Let's go. Welcome home. Welcome back to another episode of the Energy Upgrade. This is Vanessa, your host, and gosh, you're in for a treat today as I welcome the beautiful Kristy Livingston. Thank you, my dear, for being here with us.
Thanks for the chat, Vanessa.
So Kristy, I wanted to bring her on the show because this is the kind of conversation that will really inspire you. I know this. Kristy has been in my world this year in 2024, joining Femme Biohacker. And oh boy, how she has quantum leaped. Yeah, I can't even describe fully really what happened because it's just been going so fast. And I think that this is going to be extremely, extremely inspiring. So if you're listening to this, we're going to talk about vision. We're going to talk about desires, about dreams, but also we're going to talk about some of our old stories, old narratives, some of the things that we need to shed in order to access this type of quantum leaping. And so just fun fact, Kristy was actually my first employee in our previous business. And when we worked at Project Scan, you already had your own business. I got you out of there, and you
did. You were very, very convincing then and now.
And so, 10 years later, you circle back and you're like, hey, you've been triggering the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But now I feel like that's because I see that I can achieve the same thing. And so can you show me how? And I was like, oh, yes. So for perspective, Kristy, you are a medical esthetician. You've been working with skin, really helping women have the best skin of their life for the past 23 years.
Yes, yes.
And you are, I have to say, I've had tons of facials in my life, but you are just another level. And so you still have a studio in beautiful Vancouver Island. So if you're listening and you're in BC, you have to book a treatment with Kristy.
Oh, thank you.
But now we also have worked on really expanding your services online. Now, Kristy, for those that are, and we're going to get back to that, but now I want you to just have an opportunity to share a little bit of your story, because this all looks pink and rosy and it looks all fantastic, but it hasn't been always like that. So perhaps you could share what you feel is relevant to share on how this journey began.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, first of all, I have to tell you how grateful I am that you have paved the way for healing that was very needed in my life. I think I was watching a lot of your things at the tail end of a pretty tough time. It was about 7 years. I was really going through it. It would have started, and actually we had kids at the same time, which is special too. I remember you threw me a baby shower. Oh my goodness. And it seems like the spiral started about 7 years ago when my son was born and then diagnosed with autism. So that's when I would have left sort of working with you. I moved to Vancouver Island. I was really craving a holistic lifestyle, more quiet. And so I was working through the family thing. Then I had a family member get really sick, which was quite challenging. And then once that all sort of settled, I got divorced. And so if I look back at it now, it just took a tremendous toll on me. And I had to take a couple of years to really recover from that energetically. Our burnout story is different but similar, like nothing left in the tank, having to rebuild my health. And then coming through that and watching you, yeah, it was triggering, but it was triggering in the sense of like, oh my gosh, I just want to live at a different level than just getting by or just healing. And I also have always been incredibly passionate about what I do. I love taking care of women and their skin. And I had no next step vision. It was gone. And that's something I've always been so proud of. I'm like, I know where I'm going. I love what I do. And it was gone. It was flatlined. And so I think I was, with knowing how passionate you are about what you do, I knew that you could guide me. Like I don't even think I processed it that way, but I just innately knew this woman can help me. And so I trusted the experience. And I guess I've been in your world since early April.
Mhm.
And things have just really, like every month, it feels like there has been this tremendous shift. And when I've gone back and sort of reviewed that time, one of the first big ones was, well, there's two. One, being able to even turn on my mic in a group call. That was so, like, I was so stagnant. I couldn't do that. I was very introverted, very shy, didn't know how to use my words, my voice.
And going back to your mic, it was interesting because every time it was your turn to speak, your mic would never go on. It was
Mm-mm.
like this running gag. And I just love when that happens because it does happen for a reason. It was like, okay, this is where we need to go. This is what we need to work on. Oh my gosh, I already have like full body goosebumps because seriously, um, the reason why not everybody moves at the same pace is because we're not always at the same level of readiness. We're not always at the same level of openness and connection to, like you said, something in my gut was like, this woman is going to activate me, but you didn't really know. You just followed that. And, I remember even financially, you were like, oh, okay. I mean, we'll make this work. We'll figure it out. And you just decided to lean in and to be curious. And I took you in a million directions and you were like, oh, okay. And there's that. Ooh, okay. And there's that layer. And I want to talk about this vision that you said I didn't really know. Because if there is anybody listening, if there's anybody working with their hands, I want to talk about that quickly because when you first came to me, so here you are, 23 years of working with your hands, literally in a studio capacity, giving treatments to people. That's a huge energy exchange. And you were telling me how like I love my clients, but sometimes I don't know that I still have it in me. And it was just realizing the amount of energy you had been pouring into everyone at like back to back to back to back for days and years and decades. So of course, you felt like you had given all your good juices away and you were like, what's left for me? What is in it for me? And I feel like if there's like massage therapists or anybody that works in a one-on-one capacity where there's an energy exchange of that extent, it's a lot, not only physically, but energetically. And so we had to like really clean that up and be like, okay, what still lights you up? Who is your ideal client? Where do you feel like you have energy in? And what are you craving? Are you craving like more freedom, location freedom, financial freedom? And so like slowly by starting to put the pieces back together, then of course you had a download a few months after because we had like the soil was fertile. Like we had been doing all the work, right? So
Also, the universe has a sick sense of humor. I don't know if you remember, but I was saying to you, I want to be able to share with more people, but I'm in my treatment room, with goggles on running a laser and that, so I'm not speaking to people. And I knew there's also the element of physically draining your body. When,
Yes.
so there's the energetic sponge, we shall call it. And then there's the physical component on your body. And I remember saying to you, I'm just in so much physical pain running these lasers, but I've made this massive investment. And and then they just all started breaking.
And that
One
was
out
within a month of us starting to work together. Like it happened right away.
moved really fast. It just showed that, I was ready and I just had to feel comfortable with being uncomfortable in the roller coaster ride. And it's still a little bit like that. And that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and it's never going to go away. But what's interesting, just for context, you were telling me how you were craving this, like you felt like there was something else, another way, something more holistic, maybe an alternative way of looking at skin and helping women truly. We hear this in the industry, oh, from the inside out, but really nobody does that. And they're injecting people's faces. And, you and I have both been right in it, the medical aesthetic industry, how it can go. I mean, that's a whole other topic, but we both knew that we can't be talking about inside out health, inside out skin beauty if we keep pumping toxins in the face, if we keep it doesn't work.
No,
And so we have to go deeper. So you have this craving, then boom, a month later, your laser, which is really much in aligned with that way of thinking, there's something wrong with you, we're going to fix it. Did my sound break there? Or are we good? Okay, because everything froze for me. Okay, we're back. So the laser is very much aligned with this like older way of thinking, which is like, there's something wrong with you. We got to fix it and we're going to remove it and we're going to pretend it's gone. And then, and we're going to lift your face. Then boom, a month later, this thing breaks. It would cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to repair it. And you're at this pivotal moment. And I remember we were like texting and sending voice memos. And I'm like, Kristy, this is it. This is the fork. Like, which way are you going to take? This is it. And that was uncomfortable because you had, of course, purchased the device. So that's like thousands of dollars. And you're like, but wait. So it's like the universe literally gave you a golden, paved road, and you decided to take it.
it's the perfect story to explain that things that might, sort of give us a little kick in the gut or are really hard to swallow. You're like, oh my gosh, I've made this massive investment. But if you're shifting your mindset, you can actually go, okay, there's my freedom piece. Let's go. And that is like a practice that's been building for me. And it also requires discernment of what's in alignment for you or not. And so, yeah, those things have been coming up since we've been working together. And where do you want me to go with it from there? Because there's lots of fun stories. I'm realizing how many fun stories we have to tell.
Oh my gosh. And here's the thing that I'm realizing also is really fun when people come into my life. For me, it was clear right away. This is where we need to take you. And then it's just so fun to actually see you say yes, yes, yes. And what's next? And what's next? And you just said it again. Where do you want me to go now? It's like, where do we go? Because this is what happens when we start realizing that I got this. Like, I got this. I actually get to choose. I actually get to choose what my next step is. I actually get to choose what my life looks like. And here you are, a single mom of two. You own a studio where you actually see clients physically every day. Now you've launched an online coaching practice. You design your own skincare line. I mean, there's no excuse. Like any woman can come to me and complain and I'll send them to you. I'll be like, hey, look at what Kristy is doing. There's no excuse. And I want to talk also about when that thing about your laser came down, then it was very interesting what came up next. And I hope you're okay with me bringing that up. But then we had to go deeper. Because it's one thing like, okay, the laser, okay, we're going to talk about holistic, but wait. Like what what does it mean actually to live a fully holistic lifestyle? And then there's a story about alcohol that resurfaced.
I'm going to start with um, the process of unmasking.
Hmm.
I think that was the catalyst because my over drinking was a masking
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So you ran a online program. I don't know which one it was that had
Mask.
it was a mask. Okay.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, that resonated. So um in around that time I decided not to do any Botox, that sort of thing, and really just like physically unmask myself and start to sit in my authenticity, which is really it was something that I was uncomfortable with because I don't think I'd ever really done. I never really knew how to do that. And I'm 43 in a week. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't know what it looks like physically, emotionally. And as I started in that process, being vulnerable in my own skin, number one, allowed really beautiful women to come into my life. And I think that's so important because we can't go through the journey of really healing without that. I truly believe that if we don't have community, if we don't have sisterhood, if we can't trust other women, we can't actually fully open our hearts. And that's what I needed to really heal. And that's where I knew with, I mean, I don't put myself in the category of having been an alcoholic, but I was over drinking because I was dealing with a lot of emotional pain
Yeah.
or I was dealing with a lot of intensity. And so I guess that's referred to as like a high functioning. I don't know what the label is. And I've also disassociated from needing to give it a label
Yeah.
or completely controlling myself. If I want to have a glass of wine in Italy one day, I will. You know, that feels good to me to not control it. But I knew, and there was really just this knowing that if I was going to drop into leading women in helping them heal through wounds I've gone through, it was the piece that had to go. It had to go. And I
And
remember journaling when I had decided to stop, and the words just came right through me on my journal and said, okay, now the real work can begin. And that felt so good. It just felt like, oh, thank goodness I finally stopped this. It felt like swimming upstream when it came to my work. It was like I was always fighting against something.
yeah.
And as soon as I surrendered to it and just went, okay, I'm brave enough to sit in the uncomfortable, oh, it made things so much more real and clear. I definitely started to learn how to process emotion differently, which that's where you need sisterhood because sometimes it gets really overwhelming on your own.
You're making me cry because oh my gosh, I like and you did it actually so fast because this is what happens when we reach out for a glass of wine. There's just an emptiness we're trying to fill inside. So when you told me, there's something I need to tell you, this is in the way. How the heck do I get rid of this? And then, we started looking deeper and you went there and then you went to the retreat. You came to the retreat. And at that time you already had been, how many, was that a month? A few months?
Yeah, it was under a month. It was like 3 weeks. So I'm flying business class, I'm not drinking. I'm going to a resort in Mexico, I'm not drinking. And there was all these firsts, but it was so beautiful because the environment we were in didn't warrant it anyways. And so that's another thing is surrounding. I did have to clear some relationships in my life. And I then chose to surround myself with people that didn't matter so much. We were having a ton of fun in a very different way. And that's
You don't need
so,
that.
so good.
And what
So
I
that's
saw
encouragement to
you,
anybody who struggles in that, like, okay, how do I have fun? How do I let go? How do I, we had some very fun moments, some very free moments without any,
ugh.
just good food and meditation.
We were high on quantum meditations and yeah, on vegan food. If you've been following me for a while, you know how obsessed I am with my morning routine. My morning ritual is really what sets me up for the day by raising my energy and opening the field of possibilities. Now, after being asked over and over again for all the juicy details of what do I do in my morning ritual, I decided to write an ebook about it. Now, this ebook, I promise it won't disappoint. I go in details into the 9 steps that I include every morning in my routine. Now, I do want to reassure you, you don't have to do all the 9 steps to gain any benefits, because in fact, the mere fact of wanting to create an intentional morning ritual, and even if there's only a single step in it, will actually open your field of abundance. And that is why I love my ritual so much. I have created this ebook so that you can actually contemplate and reflect and experiment with brand new things that you might never have considered adding to your routine. And trust me, this one will create momentum. That is my goal. And you are going to be invited at the end of the ebook to create your very own morning ritual based on what you learned in the ebook. Now, all of this is now finally available for only $11. You can message me with the word morning and I will send you the link to get access right away to this incredible ebook that is going to add so much value to your day. Now, trust me, this one is too good not to miss. And hey, why not also gift it to someone that you care about? This is also what I've witnessed through you is in order that, so the drinking and the Botox and the mask and the stories and the narrative of like, I'm not lovable and this is not never going to happen again and I'm screwed for life. Like that's basically what it was. That was an identity that you had formed, and it was an identity rooted in survival. Like I'm a single mom. I need to hustle. I need to pay my bills, like, right? And I think the reason why you were able to get sober, like really fast when you think about it, is because you decided to step into this next identity of yours. And so it was like everything moved at the same time. And I think that's why it worked. You got to have a taste of like what's ahead of you finally. Like that vision was renewed. You could see the potential. You started remembering like, holy shit, like I'm here to create big things. Like this can't come for the ride. Like this has to go. It's not part of who I am anymore. And so you surrounded yourself, you took bold actions, you started stepping out, using your voice. So all of that was part of this new identity. And I think it's why it's stuck with you, because it's like, there's no way I'm going back there. There's no way.
No, and there's always been this feeling that I always knew that I was going to have some form of like spiritual mission. I don't know if those are even the right words, and that alcohol just doesn't align with that for me. It doesn't. Like if I'm finding space and time to do things that ground me or give me energy, I'm up at 5. I'm going to bed at 9. Like I'm a boring old woman here, and I'm good with that because it creates the energy and the space. Like I just said to you, I've been up since 4:30 this morning and doing things that bring out the best in me. And then I have downloads of, new affirmations for the skincare brand that I'm working with. So that's a whole story.
And that's the thing. That's when you start remembering how powerful you are and you start remembering this mission basically that you were given. There's no, like, excuse my language, but there's no fucking around. It's like, you become very clear and very discerning on what you have time for and what you don't have time for, what you are available for and what you're not available for. And it becomes like, it's not even a question. And I see you now, you're like, no, doesn't align, moving on. Next thing, like you're on a mission. And it's so beautiful when you find that path, because it's actually it's still a ton of work, right? And we can talk about that. But it kind of comes from different, like from somewhere else. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's like, it's your soul calling the shots. And so, yes, you still have to do the actions, but it feels like there's a greater plan. Like, and now I see you stepping into this more online version of your business where, okay, wait a minute, this could be my life. Like, I could be doing this during the day. Like, I could be reaching like hundreds of women at the same time. Like, what? Like,
That's such a funny thing to get our head around. Because one thing I've learned in being in your Femme Biohacker is women, I see these very capable, each woman in your group has their own talent, their own gift. And oh my goodness, we stop ourselves. Like each one of us has had to go through it. And it's like this unveiling, right? Of being, and we're all standing there saying to this woman, we see you. We see your gifts. Let's go. Let's like that's your MO. That's your words you use. Let's go, because it's so obvious to the rest of us what these women have to share. That it's again back to that community piece that's really important.
yeah, and we get in our own way. And this is the thing, when you start realigning with your greater desires. Like, I know probably a lot of you are listening and knowing that you're here for more, you know, you can already taste what financial freedom, what location freedom, what time freedom would do for you. And so if you can dream it up, it's because it is in your path. So that's first of all recognizing that. So that was through me being triggering. That was a like flash moment of being like, wait a minute, there's information here that's available for you. So remembering that, taking action. Mm-hmm. And then like not being afraid of peeling back the layers. And this is why I love creating that program. And I love seeing you rise in it, because we are our own worst enemy. If we try to do this on our own, there's no way we're going to go at the kind of speed you went. Like it's impossible. Because I'll just give you an example. I just had this flash of when we started doing the work and you were really called in by the spiritual side, which you've always had. Because I remember when we were connecting, when we were both pregnant, we'd have these conversations that most people would be like, these two are like weird. I remember you were the first one to tell me about colonics. Like that was 12 years ago. You were onto something before me. But so when you started having all this spiritual calling, you're like, okay, but how do I merge the two? Like what I'm doing here, I'm doing facials. Like how the heck do I make this spiritual? And I remember you were saying like the people during the day, the people that I see, they don't want to hear what I have to say. And I was like, how do you know that? Are you talking to them about it? Like, are you sharing your passion and your excitement? And you were like, no, but they're not coming for that. They're not interested. And I was like, Kristy, do you think they're coming? Yes, they're coming for the glowing skin. But they're coming for you.
Yeah.
And they're obsessed with you. Like they wouldn't be coming back otherwise. There's like, you can get facials in pretty much everywhere. Why would they come back to you?
And in that piece, I just have to say, it's interesting as we start to make ourselves more vulnerable. And like, I mean, a year ago, I think I was outsourcing my social media. I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And so allowing myself to show up authentically and people seeing that, and you don't know that they're seeing it, and then they come into my studio and the whole like all the conversations have started to shift, and there's just something so beautiful in that, and that has sort of felt like a bit of a snowball now.
Yes, because then it doesn't feel like energetically you're depleting yourself because you're giving. Like suddenly it's like, oh, wait a minute, this is circling, the energy is flowing, they're giving me back and I feel full. That's a massive shift.
And showing up and saying your truth then pushes the people away who aren't comfortable with it and brings the people in who just want to sit in that space with you and like cultivate it together.
Yeah. But it takes a level of trust to allow that, right? Because I remember at first you're like, yeah, but I can't lose any client. I can't, like, what if like I need to pay my bills? And so you really had to lean into the trust that actually there's more people that are going to be coming, and they're going to be so life-changing for you, and they're going to be fueling you, and you're just going to love every minute of it.
Mhm. Every month I sit back and I show up and I do my work and I try my best with it. And it's amazing how we're provided for. There's that piece too. And that's a big trust piece, not
Yeah.
forcing things, but just knowing that, do your best. And I don't know, my experience with it is that I'm taken care of. And I've done some pretty amazing adventures this year that I would have never expected. And
So
so that too, it's like I would have never thought I could go on your retreat or go to your second retreat in a couple of days. And so,
and
mhm.
well, I mean, I'm so honored. Like every time there's a woman that decides to come on these things, I'm like, wow, here's a woman that knows her worth. Here's a woman that knows it so deep that she's willing to put herself in a situation that is probably going to be very new. And she's willing to see what happens. She's willing to see what gets uncovered. And seeing you even just from the retreat, like from day 1 to day 5. And oh my gosh, I still remember that last hug we had and what you told me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it is so precious, so beautiful to see you. And I could see like every day the armor was like becoming less and less heavy. It was becoming less and less thick. And suddenly you were allowing yourself to connect with others, and you were allowing your heart to be touched. And you like, oh, so beautiful.
It's a hard one. It was a beautiful one, but that's been something that I've struggled with my whole life is actually allowing people in. And it almost has felt like a glass box around me. And just being vulnerable to change has shifted everything in that.
Yeah.
So for
And
anybody struggling in that, because it's a really uncomfortable place to be. It's not fun at all. So it's great that you really created space for that.
yeah, and I love your analogy actually to a glass box. It's very good because it is exactly that. It doesn't look like you're in a box from the outside, but you feel like you're in this basically in this prison. And here's how deep this runs. Like I remember like you just actually fully renoed your space because your old space, your old branding was a reflection of that glass box. It felt like you were physically trapped into an identity that was never
Mhm.
yours.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like from the name of your logo, all of it. Like we
All of it. Yeah.
we looked at all the pieces in it, and it was like, no, actually, this was my ex, this was my mom, this was my like, this is not me. Like this is the colors I want, this is who I am. And so now your space is just it's so beautiful because it's a continuation of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we start to like you talk about the onion, unpeel those layers and start saying, what do I actually want? How do I actually want to dress? What's the jewelry I want to wear? Like that's where we start to like unveil the inner queen, right? That's where we
Yeah.
start to, oh, this is my unique style. This is my unique way of presenting myself. And that is so much fun. It's just so much fun to do that. And that's where all the competition, I've never really felt that so much anyways, but like the competition between women or the comparing or like that just does not like there's no space for that.
No, because you are
Listen.
so anchored in who you are, your unicity. That's why I talk about that all the time in our coaching program, because it's like you're going to have these feelings when you are not clear on who you are. But once you meet yourself again and you're like, there you are. Okay, yes, I remember this. I remember my inner child loved this. I remember my teen, as a teen, I love this. Like, and you start recollecting the pieces. And like you said, the inner queen comes alive. Then like there's room for everybody. Then we get to like, you're the skin expert and I'm this and the other one is that. And so we all walk in our own light. But what's beautiful is we all kind of work on the same journey of yeah, we're just basically side by side doing this light activation work in many different ways. And it's just so cool because our work just gets to amplify. So I have a lot of clients that go to you and your clients come to me. And we got like, this is what happens also in this space is we have so much shares because we are also each other. We are our own ideal clients, which is fantastic, right?
Femme Biohacker is the movement that gets you to move, to finally go all in on your dream of financial freedom and life fulfillment. It's the place that will get you to harness your energy and start seeing it as your main asset. I created this movement when realizing that success in the online world was an energy game and not so much of a strategic one like we'd been led to believe. I started noticing how when I mastered my energy on a physical, emotional, spiritual, and energetic level, I literally became unstoppable. Femme Biohacker is the program that helps you reconnect with your life force. And from that place, women are remembering their soul's mission, creating business masterpieces from their hearts, communicating and marketing their messages with ease, and ultimately feel in alignment in their life while doing it. From this unapologetic stance, energy flows. And you guessed it, money too. So, will you make a move and join us?
Not to deviate, but one thing I just have to speak to while I have this space on the call is, so when I was in my more challenging place, if I had listened to a call like this, I'd have been like, what the heck, what are these women talking about? How do I get there? How do I have this? And it's very, you want that change, but it's really overwhelming to know where to start. I felt that way anyways.
Totally.
Especially when your life feels messy, you're like, oh my, how do I uncover my inner child? How do I change my health? How do I find this group of women? How do I, and for me, it was giving myself just like very small incremental steps of healing. So, just picking, maybe listening to one of the things on your podcast, and I picked one thing and I started with that.
Yep.
That again created a bit of a snowball effect. And if anybody gets overwhelmed by like what we're talking about, but they want to create change, I would just encourage them to do that. Find one thing that's coming up that you're hearing that resonates with you, and then just implement that. Don't put any pressure on yourself to be a superhero in a yoga class. Just do whatever helps you sleep and feel better in your body, because that is actually the starting point. Because if you don't feel good physically in your body, then you're not going to be able to open up energetically. It is connected. And I think, Vanessa, that's why your work is so powerful, is because you've figured out that puzzle, and so there's just that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Cause sometimes I get like so excited, and there's a time and a place for all of this. And I remember on the first week, you were like, okay, my sleep isn't that great. What do I? And I was like, you're detoxing. And then we're doing a parasite cleanse, and you were doing all the things, and you're like, why is my skin itching? Why is this happening? I'm like, yeah, parasites. And so we definitely worked on your body first, and, making sure your sleep, because you're right. Like if there's one thing we need to work on, it's our sleep, even for your skin, right? It's probably the number one tip.
Sleep and alcohol.
Yeah. Yes. So, okay. So if we're trying to recap, basically for you, I hope you're going to do like a massive journaling on your 2024 transformation. Seriously, Kristy, because, okay, so we started, you were, reaching out to alcohol. You were not had no vision for your business, yet you knew you were craving something different. You felt energetically really tired, and you were wanting to generate more financial abundance, but you weren't sure how. You had all these ideas, but and so you decided to really embrace this holistic approach, stopped getting Botox, you renovated your studio, you started realigning with your spiritual side, you completely rebranded everything you do, including your skincare line. You started using your voice, you started chasing the fear, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. You started showing up, opening your heart. You put yourself in rooms full of other powerful women, and I mean, it is crazy. And so now I want to talk about now what you just did last week because it's fresh. You had your first like big masterclass online.
Yeah.
And that really also stretched you, but I feel like that was so important. I really wanted you to do that before the end of the year because it's almost like a full circle moment where you get to look at yourself and be like, holy shit, here I am teaching women on the internet and reaching so many more people. So how did that feel?
Oh, it was definitely nerve-wracking. It definitely stretched me. But I knew that there was going to be growth in it. And I knew the funny thing is, and you've encouraged me so much in this way, is that it actually felt really easy once I was able to share my gifts. Like we've done a lot of work around me saying, well, that's just so simple. Why would people want to hear that? But actually then recognizing, oh, that's really easy because that's what I've been doing for 23 years. So understanding, sharing, and also being able to share to 20 women at once as opposed to one woman, that feels really good when you're all about sharing your gifts and helping people like simplify. Like who doesn't want to simplify right now? And so just telling you don't need all of this stuff. Here's how you use one thing for 4 different actions. Like that just feels really good. And then also having the conversation around, the unmasking, showing up authentically, being okay with having a couple wrinkles, but creating skin health. Like that's my jam that I like to talk about.
And that was also where you got stretched.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember at first you were like, oh, I can't teach online. I look tired. I'm like, well, what if that's exactly what you need to talk about? Because every single woman feels that.
Yeah. And if there's one thing I've been privy to in 23 years is hearing the concerns of women. I work so closely with them that, I'm the bartender of women. I hear all the stories. I hear all the concerns. And there's also the piece too of women don't see their own beauty.
Yeah.
They just don't see it. And I have been that way myself. It wasn't even until Mexico where I think I'm actually able to own it. And it's so like, I couldn't even barely look at myself in the mirror and go, okay, this is what I love about myself. And so guiding women in that is just like, oh my goodness, this is the gift that I've been given to move forward with. It definitely puts, I don't know how to even explain it, but it holds me accountable. I have to walk the talk.
Yeah. And gosh, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Kristy. She is just like this magnificent woman. And it always just blows my mind that you couldn't see it. It's wild. But this is
many women are like, I know so many women are like,
absolutely.
So, when you say holistic, for me, that is a very broad term.
Yeah.
So like that can mean everything from just using, honey on your face to, or, my approach where the holistic really comes in is getting women to feel comfortable in their natural beauty. That doesn't mean we're not working on the skin. That doesn't mean we're not, biohacking skin, if you will. Yeah. But being authentic in our natural selves and being comfortable in that. And that takes a bit of work sometimes.
No, it's because that's so deep. And there's a social conditioning and what we are exposed to. I mean, it runs really deep, but imagine if women can do this work, how we are changing also our daughters and, the impact on them and the future generations. That's why I stopped getting Botox 4 years ago, because that was just, for me, in such alignment. I just couldn't, I thought, this is what I want my daughter to see. I want her to know what it looks like aging, but to also know that we can do it well, that we don't have to just decide to let ourselves go. We can actually.
Yes.
And I know it. I test women on this. I know we can reverse aging, biological aging, and it shows on the skin as well. So when you start really healing inside those stories and those traumas and you release emotions, it shows on your skin. And even you had a pretty intense just before and after, from the time you were in your divorce, really stressed, contracted, in lack, versus now. Oh my gosh.
And that's the thing, when I was in it, I thought if I mask and I, make sure that my face and skin looks perfect, nobody will know I'm upset. And how sad is that in one way? And then just taking the responsibility as well of when you are looking tired, stopping and resting as opposed to running to an appointment. And I had to own that for myself. I had to say this is, and that's also the holistic approach. Going, okay, let me just listen. What do I need? And moving forward from there. And it's I have to say it's probably more work. It's just a different focus, but it feels better in the long run. And I mean, I don't have daughters, I have two sons, but I say this quite often. I like them to know when I'm mad.
Oh gosh, yes. I hear. No, but it's actually very important. That's how they learn. They learn through witnessing our emotions in our face. Before we speak any words, they can sense it through our face. So I'm very passionate about that. And I know you are too. Now, I know you have a client coming. So I want to take the last few minutes to talk about this skincare line that you have designed, because you have decided to, because of this conversation we've just been having, you were like, okay, I want to make this like moment where we put our skincare, our creams on our face. I want to make this more intentional, because we most likely are looking at ourselves in the mirror. And so what if instead of looking at everything that's not, okay, or all our flaws, what if we could actually bring this beautiful, intentional, make it a ritual? And so tell us more about what you created to facilitate that.
Right. So that is around the download that I referenced earlier in the call. So I started developing a skincare brand 4 years ago. I launched it at the beginning of 2024 under my old business name because I had all the formulas done, I had all the packaging done, and then I froze in the branding. And that, I guess, was on purpose because in May of this year, I received a download with the names of each one of the products within about 5 minutes. And so with each product, there's an intention. There's an intention about our inner feelings, our inner being. And then the fun idea that cultivated through that process was actually to create a QR code on each product with voice affirmations for myself about helping women to cultivate their confidence. So that's going to be an ongoing project as those codes are going to be changing over time, which I think is just a great way to keep things moving in a new direction as I evolve as a human and am able to bring different things to the table. And as well, it goes back to the comment I made about small actions for healing. Like it's not a major, like it's maybe 5 minutes. And so if you're having a rough morning and your kids are running around screaming and you just need to hide in the bathroom for a couple of minutes, you can take those minutes to breathe, hear somebody encourage you, hear somebody remind you. And I think we all need that in one way or another.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I you know how I often say your ideal business will heal you. So remember what you said at the beginning of the call, that your mic would never go on and you didn't really know how to use your voice. And now we move to the point that you are actually doing voice recorded activations to help women remember. Like, how full circle is that?
Completely full circle. But it also goes to show, if you are able and open to stretch yourself out of your comfort zone, the gifts that will come.
It's crazy. And I see it again and again. And I mean, just you've been a rock star at like, okay, here it goes. Where do we go now? Like, what's the next thing? And then it comes and okay, how do we make this happen? How do we do QR codes? How do we link this? What's the back end? Like then, of course, once we have an idea, then we have to make it happen. And that's often where most people get stuck and they stop. They don't do it because it's not easy to bring our crazy ideas into life. But I'm so proud of you for doing it, for launching it. And the new packaging is just so you. It's your colors, it's your vibe, and it always was that. And so we went from this like bright, good girl pink to now these like blue turquoise color that are just exactly the color of your eyes. And it's just the full representation of who you are. So I'm so proud of you. So tell us, if someone wants to buy like a beautiful vitamin C, a face oil, a cleanser, all these beautiful products, where do they go?
Beautycodes.ca. And I'm very passionate about people not feeling overwhelmed by skincare. So there are discovery calls that can be signed up for there that are complimentary. And I'd love to walk you through options that would work for your individual skin. And yeah, it's simple. It's all there at beautycodes.ca.
Yeah. And Kristy, you also offer now like some skin coaching. You have some programs available, which is really where you learn the kind of stuff that we should learn at school, but like how to properly take care of our skin. That's where you weave in the more holistic, deeper layers as well. That's where you're showing women how to shave their face.
Oh yeah, there's that whole component.
But it's just so valuable, the value you bring, because sometimes we think we have to give our power away, like to our medical doctors or our medical esthetician. But you're like, no, actually, you play a big part in this, and here's how. And you teach women how to take that power back, and I love it.
Yeah. No more guessing. No more having too many things that you don't use. It's a waste of energy.
Yeah. So
I love guiding women through the Sorry, I love helping women through simplifying everything.
Less is more. That's the vibe. Less is more. So beautycodes.ca, we're going to put the link in the show notes. And on Instagram, where can people find you?
Kristy_Livingston.
Okay. So we'll put that also in the show notes. And if you're listening, like I know you've been touched by this for sure. You cannot leave this conversation not feeling inspired. As we are wrapping up 2024, I really want you to take Kristy's story and pay attention to how your body felt and how your heart felt through it, because I know it activated something, and this is it. Like the new year is upon us. What's the vision? And that's the last question I want to ask you, Kristy. Like, where do we go from here? What's the vision for 2025? Like, where are we going? How can I help you there?
2025, I am calling in a year of calmness. You know, this year, as much as it was very healing, was also at a really intense, rapid pace. So I think really hunkering into the what Beauty Codes is actually going to bring to women, and just staying with that and bringing as much as I can through the products. And then, yeah, just meeting more women online. I'm hoping to run my first group course at the beginning of the year here, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, just starting to meet with women more so outside of my town is really what I'm calling in.
Yes. You know, here's the thing, like surfing the wave of all the beautiful seeds you've been planting at a furious pace this year. It's all coming. It's already here. You know, it's already so beautiful. So thank you for your courage. Thank you for your vulnerability in this conversation. I love you. I can't wait to continue supporting you. It's only beautiful things ahead. And it's just been, and it continues to be just a beautiful honor. And now you are coming to Montreal for this business retreat that is going to actually end on your birthday. And so I will get to celebrate you in the flesh. You're such a gem. Thank you.
I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for this time to share. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next week and next year. Bye for now.
The information shared on this podcast is for information purposes only and doesn't provide any medical advice. Vanessa Grotman does not cure, diagnose, or treat disease. Please consult your physician before trying any new protocol or product.